Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizano, and this is episode 279 of the world famous The University Love. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the best podcast in 1, 2, 3 galaxies. But you and I, we just call it Online Marketing Moves, and we are coming to you live today. Today is Friday, May the 14th, 2021, at the time of this recording. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any plans for the weekend? Me, myself, I will be working, writing, producing shows, trying to get all this stuff, taken care of. But anyway, today, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk about, ownership. We are going to talk about being a sidekick. And then we will wrap up the show. I think this has been not to pat myself on the back, but this has been a good week of shows, I believe. We learned a lot. But anyway, now, yesterday I was listening to this. I saw, I think Monday or Tuesday, I saw this guy. This guy has a podcast. I saw him on Spotify. His name is Joe Budden. He built up a pretty good, he built a pretty good podcast up. Built up a pretty good audience, and I believe he went to Spotify. I don't know if it's exclusive, but he got to deal with Spotify. So I saw him on a rant. Saw a video, and he basically had two co-hosts. They were co-hosts of the show, and I believe, to sum it up, I believe they thought they should get a bigger piece of the pie, or they thought they should have the names or whatever on the marquee. And basically, Joe Budden said no. I'm the star of this show, and no marquees, no nothing. You're getting paid what you're getting paid, and that's it. And so I believe they had a falling out, and it got me to thinking. It's because I used to watch a lot of Howard Stern when I was, my first 2-3 years driving. We spent a lot of time together, me and Howard Stern, and he would talk about different people that used to be on the show, and then a common thing was they felt like they wasn't making enough money. They always felt like Howard was making all these buku bucks and they wasn't making anything, and they did a lot for the show, this, that, and the other. And it got me to thinking. And I'm thinking, and there's nothing wrong with hosting a show with somebody. There's nothing wrong with being, a quote, sidekick on a show, any kind of show, podcast show, TV show, doesn't matter. But what you must do is, as an individual, you always want to try to put yourself in the best predicament if anything happens. Because as we all know, friendships end. These type of things end. Shows end. Shows are over with. Unless you wind up on a major hit show, like, because I don't know if you watch Seinfeld, but I watch I love Seinfeld, so I watch a lot of that. And I read an article where the people still make, like, from DVD sales and all this kind of stuff, network deals. Like, they get royalties every year, like $3-4 million, $5 million, something like that. Like, that's beautiful. But that's not going to happen for most people that are in Hollywood. You know what I mean? So what you can do is, of course, if you are on a popular show, even if you are like on a guest on a show, the thing that you must do is always take advantage of a situation. If you are on a popular podcast or a popular TV show, doesn't matter. Any kind of show, and you want to stand out. You want to make sure that you capitalize. You want to make sure that you can monetize that situation. Don't be one of these people who, don't have because at the end of the day, like we talked about yesterday, it's great to work with people. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, you're still an individual. You still are in the business of working for yourself. You know what I mean? You have to take care of yourself. I'm not saying you got to be selfish or anything like that, but you definitely have to take care of you first. You know what I mean? And if you are on a great radio show like a Howard Stern show, take advantage of the situation. Like, I remember these guys, they used to do this comedy show, and I remember Howard would yell at them about going going to do the comedy show. And it's like, yeah, they shouldn't say, they don't have to say I'm so and so from the Howard Stern show. They can just say the name. I mean, they know what show they're on. The main thing was Howard was like, hey, don't use my name in any of the brochures, which I completely understand because he has a, he has a brand, he has a business that he has to run too, but at the same time, you are on this show, so you should definitely take advantage of that. And if you set yourself up and set yourself apart from the rest of the guys, then you could definitely make a handsome bit of money. Like it worked out for one. I remember he got a job with the Tonight Show, Stuttering John. And I remember, I mean, he left on a kind of bad way, but he set himself up and he went to the Tonight Show and he made like 500,000, maybe $1 million a year, something like that. But how much he made just to work on the Tonight Show, it tripled, it probably quadruple, 5, 10 times the money he was making on the radio show. Which, I mean, God bless him. You know what I mean? Um, if you are on a show, you have to remember because unless you work on the Simpsons, all this stuff comes to an end. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how long the podcast format is gonna last. Like I don't know how long this is gonna, but we would definitely be here as long as possible. I would do this show, forever and ever if I could, but who knows what's gonna happen. And we talked about sidekicks. We'll move from that to ownership. You know what I mean? Like even if you are on a show like that, and even if you are a complimentary piece, you might not be the main attraction, but what you can always do, there's so many different avenues you can take these days. Like let's say you have you can start a YouTube channel. You can say, hey, it's me so and so from the whatever. Check me out on YouTube, and you will get a following. You know what I mean? Like you have to monetize these situations. Always be thinking about always be thinking about what you can do. You know what I mean? To put yourself in a different position, to put yourself in a different light, just in case something does happen. You always want to have something, a focus, a goal, a drive, a determination. You want to make sure that you have it lined up. You want to make sure, like, hey, this guy's just gonna quit the show today. Boom. I still have my audience. Hey, audience, follow me over here. Boom. There you go. And you want to keep that in mind. And plus, another thing is you're not gonna own the content on that show, but you can create your own content and own it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is something that's important. You want to make sure, like, even if you are, let's say you're gonna be a co-host with somebody, figure out who's gonna own what. You know what I mean? Like, you can always take this stuff and you can always use it for different things. You know, I can take this these podcast episodes and turn them into something, books, videos. Who knows? You can turn this stuff into something. I own this stuff. This is mine. You know what I mean? Now, if I get a co-host, so let's say somebody wants to come work with me, I'm say, hey, first 280 some odd episodes, with the bonus episodes and everything, those are mine. You know what I mean? But if somebody wants to jump on board, eventually we can have a discussion. We can have a discussion about who's gonna get what. So these are things you want to keep in mind. But if you are in a position, and also let's say you do start off at like you, because a lot of singers, we'll say singers, we'll use them as an example. A lot of singers start off as backup singers. Like Sheryl Crow went on a tour with Michael Jackson. Mariah Carey went on tour with somebody as a backup singer. Like these people, everybody doesn't come out and be a star of the show. Like yeah, now it's a lot easier to do that. But sometimes it's easier if you. It's a lot. It would be a lot easier if I was on a podcast network of somebody that has like 1 million downloads. You know what I mean? Like this is homemade. This is homemade from scratch. These are homemade biscuits. Like I'm creating. Like it's not. The downloads are there, but they're not. They're not 1 million. Boom. Like I'm not getting rich from the podcast at the moment. You know what I mean? Like it's just not how. It's just how it is. Now, if somebody called me up and was like, hey, we've heard your podcast. We like it. We want you to jump on. We want you to jump on our network. And then I would have to say, hey, do I get to keep my content? What's gonna happen? You have to ask that kind of stuff. But What I'm saying is, there's nothing wrong with starting off with somebody else's stuff, and then eventually you can jump on your own. Sort of like a Jay-Z line. And he says, I started off on Jazz's back, boom, still on my own tune, like boom, something like that. You can go to volume 2 and find out that line. But the thing is, sometimes if somebody has a bigger scope, let's say you start doing videos with somebody that has 3 million YouTube subscribers. Yeah, that would be a good idea to start your own YouTube channel, because you're gonna get you can say, hey, follow me on YouTube. I do little videos myself, and there's different ways you can monetize that. So never doesn't matter what position you start off with, as long as you make sure you have a plan, make sure you are doing what you're supposed to do. And also, if you're gonna be co-hosting with somebody, make sure you figure out who owns what and who's doing what with who. All right. And because you don't want to be, let's say let's say you have like so many hours and hours and hours of shows. You would hate not to have those. You know what I mean? Like, you can do so much with them. Like, I've done all these shows. I don't quite know what I know what to do with them. I do them in the podcast form. There's other ways to do. There's other ways that we can go. You know, I can make these into blog posts. I can do this. I can do that. You know what I mean? I own this stuff. You know what I mean? But you want to make sure, if you're going to get in a joint venture with somebody, make sure you know where you stand. You want to make sure you know what's going on. All right. And that's just because you see these people, and now, like the people on the Joe Budden podcast, they're going to have to figure out, they're gonna have to try to monetize this situation, because right now this is the hottest they're gonna be, because there's a lot of attention on them. So they should start now. You know what I mean? So you have to figure. You might want to have a plan ahead of time. You know what I'm saying? See the vision ahead of time. All right. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the podcast. Go out there. If you start off in the background, don't worry about it. You'll always come to the light. All right. Just work hard. You'll figure it out. Or you don't have to work hard. Just make sure you have a plan. Make sure you have a goal, a vision, figure things out, and take it from there. And always, when it comes to ownership, make sure you know who owns what, why they own it, this, that, and the other. All right. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the podcast. We will be back tomorrow with all new episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, my name is Tony Rizzano. Thank you for listening. And as always, everybody, peace.